Hi guys, it's the Island Girl, and I'm back with another one. And today I'm reacting to the Isle of Man, a Celtic island nation, Manx language and culture. We're going to get right into this one. So if you're new here, welcome. Thank you for being here. To all my regular specklers, day one to the pie, sweetie poos. Thank you for always coming in and rocking with your girl. All right, without further ado, we're going to get right into this one. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section and leave your request there as well. Here goes.
Far into the Irish Sea, rising above the waves, you'll find an island like no other. A Celtic nation with its own language, home to 80,000 people.
Oh!
Existing in its own universe, where the rules are a little different. It's not part of the UK or Ireland, but it's also not technically an independent nation. A peaceful, isolated haven that's been named the safest place in the British Isles. Welcome to the Isle of Man.
I know we just started, but just looking at everything, it takes my breath away. And it's the safest place. Can you imagine that? The safest place. And look at the population as well. It's not overcrowded. Wow.
33 miles long and 13 wide, it draws its name from the Celtic sea god, Manannán mac Lir. And they say that from its highest point, you can see the Six Kingdoms. England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, heaven and man.
Wow.
Steeped in Viking history and largely cut off from the rest of the world for centuries, today many of its residents are extremely protective of their island and are doing whatever they can to preserve another Celtic language and culture that's at risk of extinction.
Wow. I don't blame them.
We'd left northern England behind.
We're going to the Isle of Man!
And had returned to Liverpool to catch a ferry that would take us over 100 kilometres into the Irish Sea, to Douglas, the capital of the Isle of Man.
So it's literally cut off from land because as you can see, it's surrounded by the sea. Oh wow.
Passengers in the rear section of the lower passenger deck evacuate through the after-escape.
That's awesome. Woo!
Cool. Thank you.
It's beautiful, man.
The first thing we noticed, this symbol. It's part of the Manx flag and it was everywhere. 3 legs facing different directions. It's called the Triskelion, or 3 legs of man, and it makes a bit more sense when combined with the Manx motto, which actually is in Latin, not Manx. A loose translation is, whichever way you throw me, I will stand.
Wow.
Next was the signs, with strange, unfamiliar words accompanying English ones. In my other videos, you've encountered Welsh and Cornish. Well, here you'll find another Celtic language, Manx Gaelic. It went extinct in 1974 when the last surviving native speaker passed away.
Oh.
But it was revived. And in 2015, around 1,800 people, or 2% of the population here, could speak Manx Gaelic.
Oh.
Son hoptuna.
To Hanno Halloween.
Hanno.
It's the shende inrichten road. Hanno me 4 van with my gouden.
Then there was the money. The Isle of Man has its own currency, the Manx pound. You can spend British money here, but you can't spend Manx currency anywhere else.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So the Manx language is back. Can you imagine that? And about 2% of those on the island speak it. They have their own currency. that can be spent there cannot be spent anywhere else. But I get it. This is amazing to just sit here and listen to.
There are different rules too. Some legal, like the fact that there's no speed limits outside of towns and villages here, or the rock bottom tax rates that have made the Isle of Man an infamous tax haven for the wealthy.
Oh!
And some social. You never call the UK the mainland. This island isn't part of the UK. The mainland is the Isle of Man.
What's the reaction here if someone calls the UK the mainland?
It's a no-no. Definitely a no-no. We're the mainland. I was fortunate to go to the Calf fairly regularly, and we used to talk about the mainland all the time. But we could go back to the Isle of Man, you see. We were on the Calf and we go back to the mainland. It's definitely a no-no.
So instead, people say across.
I think it's across is sort of the most common way.
Yeah, I'm going across. If you say I'm going across, you generally mean you're going to the UK.
Are you serious? Now, I'm familiar with the Isle of Man based on the fact that I watched the TT race. And there's no speed limit. That is something. They're unique in their own way. And I like that. Across. So you can't call the UK the mainland. Oh, wow.
On the radio, they say the
Yeah, the
adjacent
adjacent
isle.
isle.
It's another reminder that the Isle of Man is its own entity.
Yeah.
And it joins a list of other lingo here. Some suggesting a society that's a bit resistant to outsiders. Those who weren't born on the Isle of Man and moved from across, who now make up just over half the population, are referred to as comeovers, stopovers, or stayovers.
Hold on. So if you're not born there, you're considered come-overs, stopovers, stayovers. I wonder how the transition from come-over to stopover to stayover goes. I guess I'm going to learn that right about now, I guess, because he brought that up. But I'm like, that's interesting. Let me hear.
Comeovers are anyone who's lived here for less than 10 years. After you've been here for between 10 and 30 years, you're a stopover. And it's only after you've lived on the island for 30 years or more that you're granted the prestigious title of stayover.
What?
And if you have a problem with the way things are done here, as the Manx say, there's a boat in the morning. Basically, you can leave.
I love it. I love it. If you don't like, leave. Ain't nobody forcing you. In the morning, you get on the boat and you go. But look how many years does it take you to get to stay over? After 30 years, you get that title. That's amazing. That's something.
And beyond all that, even the animals here are different. These are Manx cats. Notice anything different about them?
There's no tail.
They're born without tails. More impressive and slightly satanic looking are the Manx Loxton sheep, which grow incredible horns and can have up to 6 of them each. These animals populate a very unique landscape. High, barren peaks descend into sheltered folds in the hillsides, where lush forests flourish. These protected areas are the Manx National Glens.
Wow. Can somebody please explain to me why the cats don't have no tail and the sheep can grow so much horns? Please let me know in the comment section. This is fascinating to see, guys. Fascinating. National Glens. It's beautiful. I ain't gonna lie. This is beautiful.
Got 2 of the kingdoms in the distance. That's England over there. And over there is Scotland. Behind that headland there.
Oh,
So why is the Isle of Man so unique?
Yeah.
Well, being a small island, it's followed a slightly different path to its neighbours. It was once ruled by Vikings. They set up the parliament here the Tynwald, in 979 AD, making it the world's oldest continuous parliament.
Okay.
Back in 1275, when Scotland and England were totally separate and occasionally fighting each other, a Norwegian king, Magnus VI, gave up control of the Isle of Man to Scotland in exchange for some money and recognition of Norwegian rule over Shetland and Orkney, which, as you probably know, didn't last forever. After a series of battles, the Isle of Man flipped back and forth between English and Scottish control, until the English eventually captured it for good. It's now a self-governing crown dependency, which is officially described as a territory for which the United Kingdom is responsible. So it has never been part of the UK, but Manx people are British citizens, the British monarch is Lord of Man, and the British government has significant influence over the Manx one and is responsible for its defence.
Got it. So it's only a territory, so they are never been taken. Isn't that something? The people are British people. That's fascinating to hear. That is something. Oh, wow. Wow.
So this unique history, the influence of several different rulers on its culture, and geographical isolation has meant this island developed its own clear identity over the centuries.
Yeah.
Underneath all this, though, today the Isle of Man seems to be battling time and change. As the world modernised, the movement of people increased, and while that can improve a region's economy, it also drastically changes its identity.
That's true.
Places with larger populations can, to some extent, absorb that change. But smaller populations, like the Manx, are less resistant to it. So many people here are fiercely protective of the Isle of Man in the face of more new arrivals.
I think I'm a good Manxman. I would fight tooth and nail to preserve what we've got, which we're losing slowly. People growing up, youngsters growing up, don't have the same ideals as I grew up with.
Yeah.
The language, the culture, and it's all getting watered down. It's going to disappear. The older people in my era were probably more staunch. I'm a watered down version of them, and what's coming after me is a watered down version of me. Lots of people complain about the incomers, the come-overs. People leave over there because of what it's like over there. Come here and then want to change it to what it was over there, which they were glad to get away from.
That's understandable, and that's what tend to happen to a lot of different countries or different places. Like, people leave from one place to get away from all the hustle and bustle and the excitement and the things that they don't like, and go to a place. It's like a sense of renewal, a sense of change, and want to get that peace and serenity or a different way of life. But when they get there, they want to change it to what they're running away from. And I get what he's saying too when he said, everything is changing, the culture, the language, everything is like it's watered down from his generation to the next generation. The newcomers, it's changing. They want to change so much, and that's why it's dying out. But I pray it never changes.
I would say the Manx people, the older Manx people, are quite proud, very, nationalistic, and also reserved, I would say. The Manx people can come across very anti other nations, do you know what I mean?
Well, I think it's sort of an old-fashioned view, which still lingers on a little bit. You've probably heard the phrase like come-overs and stopovers, and there's a boat in the morning and all that sort of stuff. There's that weird thing where if you have to be born here, and your parents and one grandparent has to be Manx for you to be Manx. And it's kind of ridiculous, really, because we've got so many people over here who come over, embrace the culture wholeheartedly. How can you say that they're not Manx?
I don't complain about anybody coming here, as long as they assimilate. They come here and they take on what we've got, do what we do, and not try to change it.
But while there are worries for the future of Manx culture, there is an aspect of Manx identity that's making a bit of a comeback: the Manx language.
Okay.
There'll be people maybe 30, 40, 50 years ago who thought it had died out because they'd never heard it.
Now, I would say I was in my late teens and early 20s before I actually realised that we had a Manx Gaelic, a Manx language. And I started to go to Manx classes, and then suddenly all things started dropping into place. There'd be place names and farm names. Once I started learning colours, Ben is white, Do is black. We got Slough Do, and we suddenly said, that's Slough is mountain, that's Black Mountain, you know. And that was a revelation to me, not knowing that we had a Manx language and all these funny little sayings that I thought were slang.
So my dad was growing up in the 60s. It was kind of classed as a poor man's language, and it was discouraged completely. So the numbers dropped like significantly.
Adam and Joe are very involved in the language revival effort, but one of their biggest hurdles is convincing people that Manx is worth speaking.
One of my friends actually said to me, so do you and Adam speak Manx at home? And I said, yeah. And she said, why? When like no one can hear you. I was like, we don't just speak Manx when we're out just, you know, to promote it. I said, it's just, we speak it and it's our language, so why not talk it?
And that's from a Manx family.
Yeah.
Joe's friend now is Manx through and through, a whole family, but they just don't attach the value of the language as part of their culture. Yeah. It's still seen as a kind of a plastic Mickey Mouse language, do you know what I mean? And pointless, really. They don't attach any value to it whatsoever. But on the other hand, they are fiercely proud to call themselves Manx. When you say,
got it, makes sense. But of course you would speak Manx at home, that because it's a part of you. It becomes a part of you. So it's not that you switch it on and switch it off or switch it on when you're comfortable. You have to, if you want to be considered as a Manx, then you live the life, you speak the language. You know, it's not a switch turn off and turn on switch. So that makes sense to me.
Say you learn a language or you speak of the language, there's a kind of a phrase that people use all the time. Well, it's kind of a dead language, that why bother speaking it? But if you lose your language, it's kind of the underlying fabric, I think, of the culture. So you take away your spoken language, you're taking away all that history, all that culture, all traditions, folklore that goes with it. It's all gone. So it's quite easy for people to dismiss it because they don't understand the value that it actually has as a huge part towards culture.
And I would say that it links everything. We do Manx music, Manx dance, Manx traditions.
Well.
Oh yeah, we did Manx bingo night for
world first.
So if you do speak Manx, I think it links all those bits together.
They look to Wales, where 800,000 people speak Welsh, as a model of success.
The difference between Wales, which is a real success story, and us and other nations like Cornwall, Wales is top down. So Wales, it comes from the government and everybody's bought in, everybody supports it, and it comes top down. I think for Cornwall and us, it's bottom up. And it's hard that, I think, sometimes. It's not easy what we're doing, especially, as I say, coming bottom up. It's not easy, but hopefully strength to strength.
Yeah, and there's been a massive resurgence in the last 20, 30 years at least. Gaelic's never been more prolific now than since probably the 20s. Do you know what I mean? There's more people speaking it now than ever before, you know, apart from a long, long time ago.
I see what she's saying too, is with Welsh, it passed down. So many people are speaking it because it comes down from the head. But trying to work your way up, it's going to be harder for everybody to speak Manx. And I get it 100% because if it was a part of school curriculum, when kids go into school, they have to learn that language. And they're so right. If you take away the language, you take away the bottom fabric, the base of who you are, and it robs you of that, your history. You know, it's such a vital part of who you are as a nation. So I get what they're saying.
After 4 days on the Isle of Man, it felt like we'd barely scratched the surface of a Celtic nation with its own language and a fascinating history.
It is.
And it struck me as an island being pulled in different directions. On the one hand, the arrival of more and more people from across is changing the way of life here. On the other, there are people like Joe, Adam, and John who are doing everything they can to preserve what they've got, and who've even helped bring the Manx language back from the dead. For centuries, these shores have been so far from anywhere that the island was able to develop in a kind of bubble. But now there are ferries and planes and our fully loaded bicycles.
Yep.
And it only takes a couple of hours to get here from Liverpool, so it's not so isolated anymore. And the Isle of Man is attracting more and more people, which makes efforts to preserve the language and culture all the more important. So in such drastically changing times, it didn't surprise me that many residents felt very protective over this small but unique part of the world.
Yeah.
Our time here flew by, and before long we packed our things and headed off in the dead of night to catch our early morning ferry, because we were moving on to another country entirely. Ireland was next.
Wow. Wow. I enjoyed every minute of this video, learning about the Isle of Man, the Celtic nation, and the Manx culture and language. Because you can see, and I get what he's saying, when newcomers come in, and because there's now ferries and planes getting people from an area that was not so easily accessible, then there comes the change. And that's what sometimes cause, people to hold on or try to protect what they have, their way of life, their custom, their language, the fabric of what pulls them together and make them unique in their way. And I'm not gonna lie, when I stop and I look and everything that he showed, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful island. You understand? And it's rich. But I'm still in shock with the sheep, the different horns that come, more than multiple horns that come. That to me is fascinating. And the cats, no tail. Please, someone explain in the comment section how is that the case and how long it takes for you to get the title of stay over. Isn't that something? After 30 years, you can consider yourself man. And if you're not born there, or if you don't have like a grandma or so, you're not considered as a Manx. And I can see why they wanted to immerse yourself into their way of life and not try to change it. But I'm so happy that the language is coming back. And like they said before, it is harder building going from the bottom up. But if it was coming down from the head of their government to say, listen, this is what we'd like for it to be in school, this is to be taught. So the whole island can, because it's only 2% that actually speak the language. So that's interesting. But it's very, very eye-opening video. I really enjoyed every minute of it. The link will be in the description below if you want to watch it undisturbed. Also, guys, don't forget to let me know what you'd like me to react to next. You can write it in the comment section or drop the link. Your girl got you. Be good, be kind, be safe out there. Don't stop learning and seeing the world. You know what I mean? Live vicariously like me through videos until you can actually visit these places and have different and new experiences. That's it from me. Yeah, be good, be kind, be safe, love each other. It's your island girl. Don't forget to give this one a big thumbs up. It's free. Hit the subscribe button. It's also free. I'd love to have you guys on board. This is the way to help the channel. And I'll catch you guys in another one. Love you guys. Bye.